Okay, so I believe this is where we left off. We were talking about different shapes, and I was showing you how to do a stroke around them, even a gradient stroke. All right, so I'm going to zoom back out. Now, another thing that you may want to know how to do, instead of what you can see here, you have rulers, and if I grab it with my selection tool, the black arrow, and I click a ruler over here, I know on the 1 inch mark, maybe I want everything to be aligned to that. So I take all of my objects, I would scoot them all over until the center point was on that 1 inch, and then I had to go way over here, drag this guy over, do the same thing, and do that to everything that I have. That would not be the quickest way to do it. So if I had like maybe a whole bunch of objects, I'm going to hit the Alt Option key to copy some of my objects. And I want these 4 objects to line up. I'm going to hold the Shift key, and I'm going to make sure they're all selected. You can even come into the Layers palette over here and have a drop-down window. So you have a drop-down window here, and you can see everything that's selected is called green shape. I have all the same green shape. All right, the little blue dot indicates that that is what is selected. If I have this selected, then only the blue shape is selected. See the blue dot? So if I actually can click on these, hold the Shift key, or I could come in here and I can hold the Shift key and select each individual shape in this area in the palette. So there's multiple ways to do everything, right? So I'm going to go over to Window and Object and Layout. Under Object and Layout, you have Align, you have Pathfinder, just like you have in Illustrator. And this also, you have an Illustrator, and you have this. So we're going to first start out with Align. In this palette right here, I want them all to be in the same row, right? So I'm going to click here, it says Align Horizontal Centers, and it will align all of them. And then from there, if I wanted to distribute the spacing evenly, you see how this one is overlapping, not overlapping, not overlapping. I could click down here, it says distribute vertical spacing. And so now they're all, the same. Although, I mean, there's still some overlapping curve, but now at least they're all identical, if that is what I wanted. I could also group them instead of selecting them as individuals. So I can actually hold the Shift key. I go to Object. Didn't mean to do that. Object and Group. And then when I click on one, they move as one whole big group. It's much easier to line them up to this bar if I had aligned them all to begin with. I can even align this shape now, even though it's in a group, with this one. I can hold the Shift key, select that one. Now, if you didn't have a line out, that was under Window, Align. I just click there, and now it should be aligned through its centers, if that is something that you're looking, to achieve. If you were aligning text, if you were aligning text boxes, if you're, aligning, pictures or things that you drew. Now, I'm going to keep this all on this one page right here. And I'm going to align the tops of these. Alright, I'm going to maybe center them. I have no idea what I'm doing with these shapes, but just showing you that they exist. I'm going to make sure I constantly hit save in case the program crashes. You could left align objects, right align objects. This includes text boxes. Now I'm going to go to the next page under Pages, and I'm going to hit page 2. And on page 2, maybe I want to, maybe put some text. Okay, so I'm going to select the text tool. And I click down, you'll notice in Illustrator and in Photoshop, you click down and that's it, and then you can start typing. In Indesign, that is not the case. You have to actually select and drag, and you can drag a text box to whatever size that you want, but you can also alter the size. Now I could put random text in there. Alright, and I could write the word text all over, or I could fill it with placeholder text. Just give me a second to do that. If I right click in this box, let's see what we have. It says fill with placeholder text. So all I do is right click on the blinking cursor, hit fill with placeholder text. It fills my entire box with placeholder text. Now, if I wanted a bigger text, I could just select all, select this all, and you could go to your paragraph tool. So let me move this over for now because we're not using that. I'm going to minimize this for now. I mean, I could actually, probably put that in there if I wanted to. If I made it smaller or something, we can put it over here. All right. If I go to Window and I go to Type in Tables, you have a character and paragraph are going to be your main things here. These are your basic intro type tools in InDesign. The other ones are get a little bit more complex it depends on what you're working on, if you're ever going to use them or not, but the index, possibly, glyphs maybe. Alright, so we're going to go to character for now, and I'm going to change this. You have your different font options, just like in the other programs. If we do something like Times, Arial, and then maybe I wanted the upper, maybe this is my title up here, so maybe I want to make this a little bit larger. Maybe I want to make that 16, and this is my paragraph, and I'm just going to move this downward. It's possible that I may want this text in the center. I can always highlight it and go up to Window. We're going to go to Type in Tools, and we're going to go to Paragraph. Might want to center that there. That's a possibility if that's something that we're looking to do. And you have all the same options that you have in the other programs. All right, so what you're going to notice is if I was creating paragraphs in the space bars to indent it, and we're going to say this is a new paragraph, so I want a space there, I decided. All right, but I already drew my text box. And the same thing over here. What you're going to see is a little red mark. See this little plus sign down here? That plus sign indicates that there's excess text still that I put there, and it's hidden at this point. So you have a couple different options. Like say if I put a picture over here, you may want this text, whatever I have in here, to end up on the next page. That's a possibility. To unhide the text, you could do this. You can make sure you're on the right arrow, selection tool, the black one, and pull down. It's pulled down for a while. And that might be fine if I have nothing else on that page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this real quick where I'm going to put another space here as though I had paragraphs. But what if I had to have an image here that took up half the page and I wanted my text to go over there? There are two ways, well there's probably more than that you go about doing this. I can slide this over. Remember I'm holding my space bar when I'm doing that, so I can turn it into the grabber tool. I can copy this, which would be, and I can go to edit and copy, and I can actually paste it in here. And that's an option, and I can delete the other text. The other way about going about this, let me delete that. Let me bring this back up. We're going to put an image here. And I'm going to bring this back up, and you're going to see that, oh yeah, my text is still hidden. And I have this box here. Okay? So now in InDesign, the thing that's a little bit different is you can place a picture in without using one of these boxes. It's called the rectangle frame tool. Or you could set up your entire document full of boxes and you just don't even know which images are yet. So this way you're using them to be in place of where a future picture is going to go, or image of some sort. I'm going to start with this. And I'm going to keep in this border. And I know I want a picture here. And I go to File and Place. And I'm going to use this picture. It's one of mine. Now, what you're going to see is that my picture is now cut off. And I want all that text there. That's a really important article. And that's my image, and I wanted it to be that size. So I'm going to select this real quick, and I'm going to go to Window, Object and Layout, and Transform. I'm going to see how big the box is. I mean, maybe I don't need a 7.5 inch by 5.8 inch box. Maybe I can get away with making it smaller, all right, and having my text go on to the next page or something like that. So I'm going to change the width and the height of this. What you're going to notice what's happening, I made it like a more 6x6 inch box that I want my stuff to fit into. Now my image itself is rectangular, so I have an option to crop it, or I have an option just to make my box smaller than 6x6. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over because look at this kind of weird thing happening here. I'm not sure, and it's cropping off part of my image, and I go to move it, and I can't. And this annoys a lot of people about InDesign because they don't get how to manipulate the image that's actually inside of the box. So there's two different boxes. There's your box, and there's an image that sits inside of it. It's unlike the other two programs. So I'm going to put this back. Obviously, you're going to be using this arrow to move around the entire thing as a whole. But in order for you to actually manipulate the image inside, you're going to have to use this arrow, which is called the direct selection tool, the white one. And you'll see when I click on my image, you'll see a yellow box outside. That whole yellow box is actually my image. See? Now I can manually manipulate it, like in Illustrator and Photoshop. You hold down the Shift key, go into the corner, and it will proportionally get smaller. And that could take up a lot of time if you're doing a whole bunch of pictures in a magazine or something. Your other option is to right-click it and hit Fitting, and you could fill frame proportionally, which will mean that your image will stay in proportion and it will fill the frame in which I have it. Or Fit Content proportionally, or Content Aware Fit. Fit frame to content, which means now the frame that I made is actually going to become smaller or larger depending how big my content is, and my content is that picture of the bricks. Alright, so the first one I'm going to try out is we're going to do a fill frame proportionally. Okay, and did it fill my frame? It kind of, yeah, it filled my frame proportionally. Now the thing is, if I had this really small, I could right click it and hit Fitting and hit Fit Content proportionally. And what it's going to do is actually fit my content inside the box. My other option is to right click it and go to Fitting and hit Fit Frame to Content, and then my frame will become smaller. You see now my frame fits perfectly all the way around my image. I'm going to go to Edit Undo because I don't want that. And then I'm going to right click this again, go to Fitting, Fit Content to the frame. And when I hit Fit Content to the frame, I'm not sure why anybody would ever want to do this, because what it does is it distorts your image completely. It totally made my image square and it completely distorted it. So I'm going to go to Edit Undo. I have not used it yet for anything. Alright, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to actually enlarge my image manually. I don't have a set guidelines I have to follow here, so I'm just going to enlarge it. And remember, I'm using the white arrow if I want to move this around inside of the box. I'm using the keyboard keys. To move this around. And if I have it the way I want, then we're good. Remember, move this whole box over, I have to use this arrow. Maybe I want to center it. And you know what? I can also center my boxes. So if I hold down the Shift key, and I select the text that I had, and I go to line, I lost a line, there it is. I hit a line, I can actually line these centers, see? I'm going to make sure I save this, and what happens is I know on the next page I'm going to have another image on top, and then what I'm going to have is text on the bottom, but I want this text to be on the bottom, the text that's my overflow text. Alright, so I'm going to come over to this page, and I'm going to get myself another image. There's another way you could get an image, and I'm going to show you that just now. So if I go to File, and Place, and I get an image of, we'll go with the seagull, another one of my paintings. See, what happens is it loads up my cursor and I could place this wherever I want, whereas the box I was just showing you was a placeholder box. So if I didn't have all my images yet and I was waiting for the photographer to send me over my images, I could still, you know, do the layout in InDesign for all my work waiting on those images. Or maybe I'm the one who has to go take the pictures, completely irrelevant. So I'm going to click down, and what's going to happen is it is still going to form those two boxes. But it's going to be more proportionate. So I'm going to click down, and I'm going to bring this over here. Now I still will have the option, just like I did over here, to have two separate boxes. If I click the direct selection tool here, and then I select the outside part of my image, you can see it turn yellow. I'm then going to go ahead and I'm going to make this bigger. All right. Now you have to be careful because your files, you want to keep them all in the same folder with your InDesign file. Otherwise, when you go to open InDesign layer, it's going to say it's missing where these files are at. So you want a special folder for everything that you're placing into any InDesign document, and you want to keep it with your InDesign document at all times. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make another text box right here. So I'm going to click and drag. And now you see this text box. Remember I talked about the overflow text, right? What I did is I clicked the red box. I made sure I was on this tool. And I double clicked it until my cursor became loaded with the overflow text. And I'm going to come down here and you see with my cursor at the very edge of this, my cursor is then forming into like little chain links. So when I click down, what's going to happen is it's going to release that overflow text into this box. And that's my overflow text that was in this box. It's not a copy and paste. It's just, it is the overflow box. You'll notice that that little piece of red right there, that plus sign, tell me that there was overflow, is now missing from here. But now I still have it on this box because my image is too big. So I'm going to actually go ahead and make my image smaller. I'm going to hold the shift key. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to make sure my bird's a little bit smaller too. Actually, I can move it over. Okay, I'm going to make sure this goes up higher. And a little bit lower, so I want some spacing. Okay, that's not going to work. Gotta make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to move my bird up a little bit. All right, I'm going to hold the shift key. I'm going to align these two together. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see what's happening. So you can see that I was able to place my images in two different ways. You also have this, which is new in the middle. It allows you to pick it up and move it around. That didn't used to be that easy where you could pick it up and move it around. Usually when you moved it, you used to move the whole entire box, this box. So in this version, you're able to actually hover above it and it turns into this little wheel which allows you to grab the image itself instead of having to come all the way back here or using a shortcut key. Same thing over here. If I pick this up and move it around, it moves the whole box. If I hover to the middle, it selects just the image. Again, that didn't used to be an option. Or you can make sure you're on this arrow and that will also select the yellow box. Now what's going to happen is when I select my text box here and here, you can see little arrows here that are new. This is telling me this is going out and this is going in. And these guys are actually linked together. Okay. Under type, you have all the same options as you do in the palette menus. You have your font, the sizes, character, paragraph tabs, glyph, story, character styles, paragraph styles. We will get into these way later on. You have create outlines, find font, change case, type on a path, all different options that you, some of them you'll be familiar with, some of them you will not be. So we will eventually get into more of these. And again, I can only do 15-minute clips at a time. All right, so I'm going to save this, and I'm going to come down here to a whole nother page. And you can see my main pages that I'm seeing right now are now highlighted in blue in my Pages palette. If you don't have your Pages palette open, it's on Windows and Pages. Okay, so I'm going to go to that one right here, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Maybe I want a color in the background here, so you can place colors in gradients. You have your option for your rectangle tool. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so I have a little bit more control. I'm going to draw a rectangle. Okay, so I have a gradient swatch tool and I have a gradient feather tool. Now I grab the gradient swatch tool and I'm going straight up and down. I go at angles all the way around. And you'll see that I accidentally had, in my toolbox, I had this stroke on. So it should be my stroke that got filled in. And it did, see? And that's not what I wanted, so I'm hitting Alt-Option to back out and clicking down my mouse. I want to reverse those. There's another, I wouldn't want all that as a background, that's a little much, but I was just showing you an example here, and then I can actually do this one, which is the gradient feather tool, which it feathers, you know, into the paper. That might be a nice effect depending on what I'm looking for. And the higher up I go, the less of the gradient, you know, see how it's like less pink. You do, it depends on what you are looking to do. Alright, so I'm just going to do that much right there. It's good enough for me. Alright, so text, you saw there was an option for up in type to create outlines. Alright, so it was type. I think that's what it was, right? Where's it at? Type. It's character, paragraph, character style, create outlines right there. Couldn't find it because it wasn't highlighted because there's no text yet. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a text box. I'm going to write the word text. And I'm going to enlarge that text. And get rid of that. So I'm enlarging the text, and I'm going to go up to type and create outlines. You'll notice the text box disappeared and got as tight as it could around the word text. And when I zoom in and I use my direct selection tool, just like in Illustrator, I can now manipulate this and no longer reads it as text. So it now reads it as a drawn image. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to manipulate the T. I'm just grabbing a whole bunch of points at the same time, trying to anyway. And I'm going to move all this over and manipulate it. Oh, that's not what I want. Maybe I don't want that one there anymore. I can always subtract it using my pen tool. I'm not sure what exactly I'm doing with the T, but I'm just playing around with it to let you know that this is a possibility that you can actually manipulate these. You create logos and stuff just like in Illustrator, but that's something that I would typically do in Illustrator and then drag in. But InDesign is becoming a much more easier program to create images in. Alright, so I'm going to double click on page 4, the hand tool again, and I'm going to zoom out. Alright, so maybe I wanted to do that. I'm not really sure why, but I'm just letting you know it's an option. It's just like the other program. Now, you can also type on an ellipse, you could type on a polygon, you could type on any shape that you absolutely want to. So if I actually take this ellipse tool and I draw with it, right now there's no fill and no stroke and no gradient. None of this is selected. Underneath the type tool, you have the option for type on a path tool, just like in Illustrator, and I just click there. I can write the word text. And if I want to repeat this, I could highlight it. Now I'm going to hit Control C, Control V, Command C. What am I doing? Command C, Command V, Command V. Command V, and you'll notice that the red happened again because I have too much text. So I just enlarge this so we can see what's happening here, just like in Illustrator. You have this as your start and this as your finish. You also have a center, and sometimes you have a harder time finding the center bar, and it allows you to manipulate things. So what I do is I sometimes center in this situation with this in your paragraphs. You go to align center and it helps you find the bar sooner. But I could find it right now because I could see it right here. See that little piece of blue right there? Now I'm going to hit this, and usually when I hit that, it really centers it, and I can find it. I'm going to use this arrow, the direct selection, to manipulate it, and I can put my text on the inside now, or I could put it on the outside. I can also change where the start and finish is, like for, oh no, what did I do? Zoom out, zoom out. All right, so I'm going to zoom back in. Say I wanted my text to start upside down, and I wanted a big gap down here for whatever reason. I could pick this up, and I can move this over, and I can move this way. And remember, these blue lines right here, they will not print. If I go up to, let's see, if we go to view, let's see, overprint view. And I click on overprint view, that goes away. So now we can actually see what's going on. When you click on it, you can still see it. So it's under view, and it was a overprint preview, so overprint, yeah, there you go. So you can see how it would look in the event that those blue lines